Okay, so I entered into longs today, and the reason for me entering into longs, especially I entered into longs on news. So the reason for that is because the type of news we had coming out was US job openings, and with US job openings, what that does for us is basically uh, when the US job openings opens higher, it makes the Fed go hawkish in terms of interest rates because it shows that there's a tight labor market and inflation can continue higher. When US job openings is lower, then basically it shows the Fed can be a more dovish than hawkish, meaning the Fed has more of a likely chance of decreasing interest rates. Another one is the consumer price index. The consumer price index was anticipated lower and it came out lower. Uh, I believe I could be wrong, but anyways, the Fed overall, there's an 80% chance that the Fed is going to basically have a interest rate cut. That being said, uh, like mentioned, job openings came out lower. There was a 70% chance of the job openings coming out lower, so I liked the odds and I entered into longs. With entry into longs, job openings did come out lower by a few 100,000, and so we entered into our long position on YM. Of course, on Nasdaq and S&P 500, there was a much better move, but I was in YM. I'm going to be focused on just YM, so I'm not going to be too focused on trying to catch every move in every index. I'm rather just focus on the CBOT index, which is YM, and just kind of move forward from there. I almost got stopped out a couple times in this trade, and then my take profit was at 160 points. I took profits for 59, 56. Took profit for 56 points because we had large selling orders coming in. And upon us having large selling orders coming in, like I said, took profits at this red line right here. And obviously, price decided to continue going higher. But if I were to stay in that trade, I'd be at the risk of going break even or having it take my trailing stop because as usual, I trail my stops whenever I'm in a position and just to minimize or decrease risk in a business standpoint. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer over to another screen. Hello there. Give me just 1 second while I go ahead and do that. Okay, and we gotta adjust. Adjusting is always fun. Make it real small. Not small enough. Real small. We're gonna make it a little larger. Just about a little bit more larger. Not my camera. There we go. Okay. So, where was my entry? It was here. Okay. So, like mentioned, we had US job openings coming out. We started having some buying pressure here, and then the job openings came out within this candle, started having immense buying pressure. I had already entered into the trade. After upon my entry, I stayed in the trade, obviously almost getting stopped out a couple times because we decided to consolidate. Obviously, as mentioned, Nasdaq and ES moved much better if you want to look at it that way. When Nasdaq and ES had the move, they went in a single direction rather than consolidate. Maybe I could show you. Let me see if this loads up. If I could show it to you, I would. And that chart's not loading. Okay, no worries. Let's try it again. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. That chart loaded. And so, yeah, we had a large move up on ES once job openings came out, and then resulted to a move down, and then resulted to a larger move back up. For ES, if I were to even have traded it, I probably wouldn't have traded it, but I definitely would have been stopped out in terms of my trading style. NYM almost did get stopped out. Anyways, getting distracted talking about different indices. So overall, the trade that I took was based off of news, what news was going to come out, how it was going to come out, etc. And I had my take profit set at this high right here. Reason being is because if we had bullish news, I'd expect a bullish move up to take out this high and this high. So, and also basically break above VWAP, which we do break above VWAP, but break it down below it, and more than likely we're probably going to chop for the rest of the day, or we might barely get up there and barely just take profits. So with that said, my entry point or my exit point where I exited was because of this candle right here. The reason why I exited off this candle was because we had negative delta and we had a lot of selling pressure coming through, and it was overlapping the bullish delta that we had. So it occurred to me that, makes sense to exit out of the trade because we already are having conflicting bias stating that we are rejecting the VWAP, we are rejecting the previous delta, we are rejecting the previous buy candle with selling candles, or selling pressure, sorry. And lo and behold, we went lower, but got we obtained our composure and decided to continue going higher because of the buying pressure that was being forced into the market. Obviously, you can't control the market. I can't control the market. Nobody can control the market other than everybody as a whole, if you want to look at it that way, even if but yeah, overall, I mean, the trade was good. Everything was good. I followed my rules, followed my plan, followed through price action. And with that said, I'll go ahead and stop this recording and see what tomorrow brings.